It always comes to this. More nice shit. Hello there guys, here to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I had showed off my left sleeve progress with Rick. I actually had a pretty good session with him. It was a great change of pace. I didn't mention in the last one, but Rick actually put in a pretty good day's work. He's been having some health issues. The guy's had a lot of like physical issues over the years. I'm not going to get too much into them, but it's been affecting kind of his work here at the shop overall, not just on my project, but he's been having a hard go, so we haven't been having super long sessions lately, and it was nice to see him kind of, not just on me, but just in general. This last week at the shop, he's been putting in some longer days again, and he's been having a better time, and it's been nice to see. Obviously, we've been working together for a long time, and so for me, I actually care more about him as a person than as a tattooer. Like, I have a more personal friendship with the man than I do even professional working relationship with him, both being the shop manager here and also him being my tattooer. When you work together with someone for, we go back as far as 2006, I met him even earlier than that, believe it or not, but you develop a personal friendship as well, so it's been nice to see him kind of getting it together and being able to work longer. Anyway, I will show off. It's mostly healed now. We're in that shed phase, so this is this is Thursday. I had this done on Monday, so it's a really kind of shallow peel. It gets really surface, so a lot of the peel is very thin and flaky, but you can see it probably looks a little bit brighter than it did last time I showed it off. The purple on black, especially the darker purple, it goes real dark, almost black when it's healing, and then when it peels it comes out a little bit lighter again. As you can see kind of in this, you can see that purple in there is lighter than it went in initially. So really liking how this sleeve is coming together. This whole alien texture is really working. Again, we're going to put more of that dark purple up top here as time goes on. But with Rick, we'll be working on the inner bicep again next week, Rick and I. So that's going to be a good session. Looking forward to that. Hopefully we can get about as much done. Again, we're going to have to redo some of the black or touch up some of the black, and some of the black was never done. Like the little lines were never redone with the Panther XXX. We just sketched them out with the black gold. But you can still see them, and they're still there, so at least we have a baseline to work from. And that makes a world of difference when you're working on black, because going in blind is obviously way harder. I had another session today with Terry. I've been keeping it secret what I was going to do. I didn't want to talk about it too much beforehand. I wanted to almost be kind of almost like a new surprise or a new frontier for me. I've had some ideas about doing a bright red outline around the pieces on my torso. I wanted to cut them apart from the black. Right now we have black and white, and I think obviously some red highlights in there in places, but I think that the black outlines were the wrong choice in that piece, that torso. I just don't think that we had the know-how at that point. I don't think that we were there yet. Obviously, physically, I could have done it, but we didn't have the comprehension that I have currently. I wasn't thinking in the ways that I am now. I wasn't far enough along with this whole project as a whole to realize that the red could cut out the black and the white so much. And so I think now if I was to do that torso today, it would have been lined out in color. As odd as that seems. You can see it here. So this was double lined. Okay, so this is actually triple lined. We used an 11 liner for this. We used, the red was called, it was really red on the very outside. And on the inside, we lined an 11 liner over parts of the white. Like the very edge of the white was lined with what really red, or no. The darker red is called Bloodberry. I'll put a picture of it in here. I forget the brand, but it was a Bloodberry red. So that was on the inner, like along the white, the outside of the white. And then we lined the black with it as well on the outside of the white. So it's a 3-lined tattoo. The brightest is at the outside of it, and then slightly darker on the inside, and then again brighter along the white, because it's again going over the white instead of the black. And then just touched up the white a little bit. So most of the white is as it was. The white didn't actually get more than a few touch-ups because it was actually bright enough already. So it's not a proper 4th pass. It would be more like the 3rd pass highlights that we did in my roses. So again, just kind of high points of white. I didn't want to send the message either that the white had been fully redone, because I don't want people to think that we did that because it was fading. I was very acutely aware that that's what people would be thinking, so we didn't go with that approach. You can see where we touched up and where we didn't. And we didn't need to at all. Again, this stuff isn't changing once it's done. It's just, I'm always curious how much better things can be, right? So it's like, well, we're there anyway, we may as well. Now, with how this went, obviously I'm going to wait to see how it healed before I'm completely justified in my thought on this. But the way that we did this is the way that I would line my torso, like the tentacles. And you have a sort of glow effect that sort of pulls the moon off the hand. That's what I would be doing with all the pieces on my torso. If I do that, I'm probably going to get Terry to do it. And I'm just going to get Rick to sign off on it. And the only reason why I'm not having Rick do it is because we've got our hands full with the sleeve. And no offense to Rick or the way he works, but I think it would probably take Rick 2 to 3 sessions to do all that lining, whereas Terry will bust it out in a session. It'll probably be about 4.5 hours, 5-hour session with Terry to reline all of that, and we would do it more or less the same way. So we would do the bright red outline on the outside and a dark red outline on the inside. So again, everything would be twice lined, and we're talking some really painful lines because those areas suck to get lined anyway. And when we lined the original tentacles out way back in when was it, 2021? Yeah, the start of 2021. The original outline, we did most of the tentacles. I think we did all but one of them, and it took about 4.5 hours. But Rick was kind of just ghost lining that, so he was lining really fast. For long-time viewers of this channel, you know that I've said before that the most painful sessions are when Rick ghost lines or bloodlines something, because he's lining very, very fast. Those lines aren't completely solid most of the time, and they're usually just used to shade off of. We did end up going back and boldening up those outlines, and they're still there. You can still see all that stuff that we lined. I'll take the vest off. You can still see all of that stuff about as clear as this, but I think we can separate everything out even more by using different color. Now, I am going to have Rick do full color in those tentacles. Don't get me wrong. We're going to do similar color scheme as what we've done here, all over my tentacles on my stomach. Once I get the sleeve finished, I've already talked to Rick about it. He's pretty stoked to do it. With that said, I feel like they would be easier to do if they were highlighted. Even for him, I think that the clarity would go up. Each piece would be cut off from the background. I also think that in the midterm or the interim, it will elevate them, and I would think that I would have Rick do the same thing anyway, even if I had him do it. I think that would be the result. I would still have the color outline, and I think that the only colors I would use for something like that on black would be either yellow or red, because they seem to cut the black the best in terms of contrast. And I think it's because they contrast the blue tones in black out better than any other colors. That being said, the mid-ground of that, orange, that works really well too. Anywhere we've done orange on black has gone really, really well. So it has a kind of white look to it when it settles. But yeah, I've had great success with oranges as well. So anything on that spectrum of color seems to work really, really well over black. Now, I don't know what this means for the future. I've been thinking about where I can put some highlights in places and other places now that we've been using some brighter colors. But this is what I've been thinking about for a while, and I just wanted to try it out on the moon first. Mostly because the moon was always meant as an experimental piece. So even when I sat down to do this moon originally, it was originally black on black moon. And Rick and I had no expectations of it. That healed great, so we did the white, and that healed pretty great. So it makes sense for me to approach my next idea, or a new idea, and it is a little bloody right now, so not all of that red in there is shaded, just so you know. It made sense for me to approach this new idea with the first experimental piece we did back in, I think it was October of 2020. Actually, I'm lying. It wasn't the first thing we did. We did some black on black filigree on the backs of my arms first. That was September of 2020. But we've just gotten braver and bolder as we've gone, and I don't expect that to slow down. And because I only have one body, that means that in order to employ new methods, I have to revisit old areas. And obviously, I could start on my legs, but it's probably best that I don't. It seems as though the more we do, the more we learn, and the better I am at refining things. When I passed this idea to Terry, I want to tell you, he thought I was nuts. But then as he was doing it, he was having a lot of fun, and he was like, wow, this looks really cool. Like the way that it lifts. It's not just because it's swollen. The way that we've shaded it, when you close up, you can see that the perimeter being brighter and the inside being darker like that is going to lift the moon even when this is healed. Even though every part of it will darken, that balance will remain intact. It's not just going to turn to the same, as we've already seen. Different reds heal different colors on black. We have an example of 3 different reds right there, and I have more of that in different places. So they all have their own shade and their own coloration, and if you use them in tandem, you can get some really cool effects. And to my knowledge, I've never seen anyone else do anything quite like what we did today. Not that I'm bragging or that it matters to me to be the first. I just knew that what we were sitting down to do was truly in the ether, and we still have people denying the ability to do a white tattoo on black. Here we are in the same world, basically just charting our own path, doing whatever the fuck we want, and just really, almost to a reckless degree, I feel like we're shitting in the living room over here. There's just no rules anymore. Whatever rules were established by old-time tattooers are not only being broken, but they're being broken with reckless abandon, danced on, laughed at, and just there will be no memory of them. Now that being said, social media could be doing a better job of communicating this message. I do post this stuff on my Instagram, my TikTok, but quite honestly, like, it doesn't reach as many people as I feel it should be reaching for the scope of what we're doing. I'm not saying everybody is going to love a little white and red on black moon that I've done on my hand, or a big sleeve of roses. What that said, the rose sleeve has done the trick. It has trended, and it has gotten my message out there. But I feel like this project, not just because I'm part of it, I'm taking myself out of this, but this project has been very, very good for the tattoo community in general. And I think it's going to really help so many different people get different kinds of cover-ups and understand that you have more on the table than you thought you had. Already we've had so many people inquire at the shop for similar things, but I'm seeing so many people around the world doing projects like this now. And as I've said before, I don't really care if I get credit for it. It's just nice to see this sort of progress being made, and more tattooers opening their eyes to the possibility of, very detailed, very complicated work over blackouts. Anyway, I don't want to rant too much longer. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.